Hey everyone, so it's been a while since I've done a video, but I think this will be worthwhile. So what I'm going to go over today is my almost year-old system for lighting and power on the bike that I got from Peter White's Cycles last year, just after the time of year where it's been most useful. But I'd worn through my old rim on my previous front wheel, and I figured I might as well just get a new dynamo hub with it. And if I'm doing that, get a light system and a tail light as well. And this light system actually even has, I can find the right place, has a USB charging cord that comes along with it. So I'm going to go through each of these things and just sort of show them off. So this is the Sun 28 hub that I got with the system. The Sun 28 36 hole silver hub. And just goes right up here. I got the disc version so that I could switch this wheel over someday, sort of future-proofing it a little bit. And just because it's fun to demonstrate this, here it is. Once you get it going, the light comes on, and here is a green light showing you when you have a power going to a brake light of some type. The orange light shows you that you have power going to a headlight on the headlight system. I hold down the button and it turns on to bright mode, which is signified by this blue light right here. I can press it back off to turn it off. And the tail light, as it's set up, stays on with a stand light mode for some time after you turn it off. And if I just leave this as is, we're going to watch this just stay on for a few minutes. Now, part of what's really interesting with the system, so this is the Luxos U from B&M with...
Sorry, it looks like I didn't hear you correctly.
Alexa, stop! And the stand light stays on for some time. 5 minutes, I believe, for both of these is what they're set to. So this is the B&M Luxos U, which comes with this push button activation, as well as this solar charger, USB compatible. Works great with with anything that you need to draw power out to. You can have this set in sort of all-time running mode, where you just have it running all day and night, and it'll adjust how bright it is based on what the brightness outside is. So as your day goes darker, or if you go into a tunnel or anything like that, the light will come on brighter. Or you can just have it so that you just leave it off and press the button to turn it on when you want. If you're trying to charge, I would recommend leaving it off when trying to charge, because I've been able to charge something while drawing power out to the light, but the light is a lot dimmer then. And if you're really needing the light, it's probably just best to do it that way. And it's hard to be certain that you're going to be drawing enough power to send into the USB to be able to get some decent juice off of this. I'm just going to show what the light looks like from the front and what the tail light looks like from the back. So this is the B&M Toplight Line Brake Plus, and this is a quite nice light. It just attaches onto my rear rack right here, tubeless Cosmo, but you can do it a lot of different ways. And I routed the cabling around here, sort of had to figure out, this is my first time having any kind of cable routing system on my bike, so this is a first that I'm having to do for it. So I just loop it around, and I used electrical tape in a couple places just to sort of help it along, because this, especially here, kept wanting to move and travel up and make big slack whenever I would turn my handlebars. And just plug in right down here at the dynamo point with the connectors. And let's see. And so this light has a really good feature where essentially when you are going, it senses your speed from the hub, and it adjusts how far out the light is going. So when you're going slower, it'll keep the light closer to you, it'll focus the beam more down directly in front of you, and it won't quite be as bright because you don't need to be extended far out. And when you're going a lot faster, it'll spread that beam out further ahead, and it makes the closer part of the beam less bright relatively than the further part, so that the further part and the nearer part look just about the same illumination to you. It's a really cool trick, and it works well, so that you're not just blinded by reflection from what's closest to you. And and this is how I've got the front guy installed right here. Just a couple of thick washers, because this was wanting to bend washers as I was doing things, and as I was tightening down the bolt. And this works quite well, and I will show you what it looks like in the dark in a moment. Okay, so now we're going to see what this looks like. We've got it outside in the actual dark, so I'm just going to turn it on first. Now you can see it's on the ground, but it's not very bright because, one, we're not moving, and two, the light here is not quite as dark as I'd like. But once we're moving, that stand light, which is essentially just to keep you visible in the dark, changes to actual headlight, which shows you light for quite a distance forward. And you can notice there's actually a good cutoff point near the top of the beam, and that is essentially so that instead of having a gradual cutoff that goes into driver's eyes or other people's eyes, you actually just have a cutoff that stops exactly where you need it. So you essentially orient the light to the right point that you'll need as far as lateral up and down is concerned. And then you're good. And you can see again, with me going up, speeding up and slowing down, the light gets brighter, it gets further out. I'll go back through that darker area and show that again. Yeah, this is quite a good lighting system. Of course, I almost forgot, before going inside, here's how bright the tail light looks from outside. It has quite a good level of visibility in the dark and at a distance, which I would have to say I very much appreciate, being a all-year, all-condition commuting cyclist. So that, overall, is the system. And I have to say I've been very, very pleased with this. And this provides me with just great light the entire way coming home in the dark. I did a sort of personal best trip for speed back and forth to Pittsburgh this summer, and was able to ride into 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night in the summer and have lights the entire time. I didn't have to bring my solar chargers because I had power the entire time, because I would run power off of this and charge up a battery pack that I would use to charge up everything else. And this whole system has just worked very well. There have been a couple little snafus. I had a little bit of a problem with the, make sure I'm not, yeah. A little bit of a problem with just the tail light shorting out, and I contacted Peter White Cycles and they sent me a new one, and I think it turned out that one of these wires, so I don't have a lot of electrical experience, so this is my first system using something like this, and that one of these wires is sort of meant to be the ground and meant to be the positive, and one of these wires is not. And because even when I knew that I was using the same wire for negative on this end And on this end, the same wire for positive and positive, running from the out here to the tail light, still was having difficulties with that. And essentially, just in association with that, so the way this routing works is that the power comes off of the hub right down here and runs up this wire right here to the in slot on the light, which is essentially trying to get the focus right here, which is essentially the sort of control mechanism for power for everything else. And then you run the power out from that over to the rear light. And I would say that I wish that Peter White didn't have sort of a monopoly on this, just because it'd be nice to be able to source this stuff from multiple places, because if you get it from your local bike shop, they're ordering it from him essentially. With that in mind, their customer service is really good, if slow. It takes them a bit of time to do things, just because since they're the only people who do it, they're backlogged. They provided everything. They cut the wires that I got for the system to the lengths that I ended up specifying. And his website especially, and this is really the top thing, has great explanations for the features of all these different items that are involved in this lighting system. And now essentially, if you're trying to do something similar to this, but you're trying to save a little bit of money, the place I would say first, well, if you don't need a tail light that's really nice, you could probably knock this off, but this guy's only actually 40 bucks. It's actually sort of the cheapest part of the system. Second thing that would be sort of a place to knock off price would be the Sun Hub. You can get others. I don't have personal experience with them, so I don't know how they compare, but like Specialized makes one. I think I know I've seen a couple other makes. Momentum put out an article recently about comparing different dynamo hubs that I need to read. But they work great. At least this one has, and I've been very pleased with it. This is the thing that I really think just is great, because I wanted a USB charging setup for my bike trips or for just life. And if I was going to get the sine wave or something else really slick and that installed in my stem cap and whatnot, that was going to be 200 bucks plus by itself. And instead, with this light, which I believe is under 200, I got a charging setup with it. So the Luxos U, Toplight Line Brake Plus, both from B&M Mueller. So you do have a little bit of a... They have some instructions in English, but you definitely sense that there's certain important information that's not included quite as well in English as it is in German. And the Son Dynamo Hub. So let me know if you have any questions, and I hope this has been helpful for you. Thanks. Bye.